Hello, this is Eileen, the environmental educator, who has the light years best environmental solutions that no one has allowed since November of '93. And, they're here. You can click here to get a little more details about it. We can talk about that in other videos. But, you know, had we done this and global environmental illiteracy and our disposable society, that right there is so much transportation and energy and processes so that we nonstop manufacture, transport, package for us to hold in our hand for 10 minutes before we send it through a whole nother huge disposal process, which is, filled with more packaging and transportation and manufacturing. So it's just a vicious, endless cycle. You know, Individual cooperation, leadership, like hemp, clean energy is last because it's not happening. But the important thing about that in this video here is, there was some headlines out here just recently. Antarctica was 70 degrees above normal, and the Arctic was 50 degrees above normal just a few days ago. And of course, every expert is out here blaming climate change. And had any environmental voice allowed solutions since November '93, when every environmental voice has prevented the needed solution since, we might not be having these headlines. But this is PBS. Yeah, hot polls is what they say. And, USA Today says it's not a good sign. A troubling record is what they say. And the New York Daily News, unprecedented heat wave baffles scientists. You know, baffles is the word I use about all environmental voices that are crying for solutions. But since the '70s, for 5 decades, have proven they don't have any. But You know, if you search this, there's really a lot of articles that come up about it. It was really covered. Scientists flabbergasted. You know, the coldest location on the planet has experienced an episode of warm weather this week, unlike any other observed. And so one thing I did was I went out to see if Dane Wigington at Geoengineering Watch had anything to say about this, but um, I don't see any headlines here about it. This is only a few days old. It might have been in his week-ending report here, but it doesn't say anything in this little write-up about it. But I was wondering if he thought that maybe they were, you know, doing something to make this unprecedented heat wave, because here's an Antarctic climatologist, Stefano Di Patasta. He said, it is impossible. We would have said until a few days ago. So that's why, I was like, maybe Dane has some explanation for this, but right now they're not saying it's impossible anymore. I never say anything's impossible, but here it is. An unprecedented heat wave has already changed the way experts think about the Arctic climate system. So this is it does have them baffled. This guy here, John Willie, a researcher studying polar meteorology at the University Grenoble Alps in France. He said, this event is completely unprecedented and upended our expectations about the Antarctic climate system. It's the temperatures at the Concordia Research Station, a French-Italian station on the Antarctic plateau, reached 10 degrees, about 70 degrees warmer than average. And the thing he said about this is This is when temperatures should be rapidly falling since the summer solstice in December. We just turned to spring today up here in the northern hemisphere. Somebody put out, and I always know it's the 20th, 21st, 22nd. I didn't look up when it officially happened this year, but they're heading into fall down there. It's the end of the summer. So heat waves do happen at the end of the summer, but down there in Antarctica, not really. And this is a Pacific Northwest 2021 heat wave kind of event, referring to the extreme heat wave that affected much western North America from late June through mid-July last year. Never supposed to happen. Yeah. Oh boy. So, yeah, this made big news. It happened like the 17th, the 18th, or the 19th. So right here it says that the Russian, the Vostok station, that's the Russian, scientific station down in Antarctica, is about now is normally about 63 degrees, but it was 0 degrees on Friday. So that's a warming of 63 degrees from minus 63. It doesn't say Fahrenheit or Celsius. That's probably Fahrenheit, but that's unusual for them to talk in terms of Fahrenheit. But Maximiliano Herrera, a climatologist and extreme weather tracker who runs the Extreme Temperatures Around the World website, that's a website, tweeted that the high temperature in Vostok broke the previous record by nearly 27 degrees. So, yeah, that's up there in the Arctic. And they said Walt Mayer, an ice scientist with the National Snow and Ice and Data Center in Boulder, called the situation on both poles pretty stunning. They are opposite seasons. You don't see the North and South poles both melting at the same time. It's definitely an unusual occurrence. Yeah, you don't really ever see Antarctica 70 degrees above normal. And right here, the USA article, a troubling record. There are some scientists, the team of scientists are sailing to the place in the world that's the hardest to get to, so I'm assuming that's Antarctica, so they can better figure out how much and how fast seas will rise because of global warming eating away at Antarctica's ice. Oh, and still, all environmental voices will not allow solutions. No, no, still, they will not allow solutions. And, a lot of those voices, they won't hear about solutions. And here's Billy Gates. Now, this is new. He has started not allowing me to comment on his pages, telling people that Mr. is out there talking about the environment all the time, prevents solutions for over a decade. And just today I was on Facebook and Bill Gates came up and I'm like, look at that. I can no longer make a comment telling his worshipers what he won't do. So let me tell you, the environmental voices out there, even though they will be screaming about these, this warm temperatures, and every other thing they say is a disaster to the planet, but they are so opposed to solutions that they won't even let their worshipers know they won't allow solutions, because then their worshipers might go, well, maybe you should get on solutions. It's a little silly out there, but it's true. So a lot of these are the same officials. They use the same um, experts, in their quotes here. But officials at the National Snow and Ice and Data Center in Boulder, Colorado, have been watching the Arctic, which has been warming 2 to 3 times faster than the rest of the globe. it had been experiencing temperatures unusual for mid-March as it is nearing or at the melting point, according to the center senior research scientist Walt Muir. And the thing about the poles is, okay, this is Earth. Global warming, allegedly, Earth's greenhouse effect happens in the first layer of Earth's atmosphere, the troposphere, which extends 5 miles above the Earth at the poles and 10 miles above the Earth at the equator. So, when the greenhouse gases are all hanging out here in the troposphere, there's a lot more troposphere at the equator than there is at the poles. And in my limited thinking, I'm not one of these climatologists, but it would seem to me that this would have some effect as to why the poles are warming faster than the tropics, because, the greenhouse gases get dispersed. They may get emitted mostly in the northern hemisphere, but, atmospheric winds and just everything, the Earth's environment, they get distributed. So I've never seen a report about exactly how evenly distributed, but you would think that, the winds take them, so they're pretty evenly distributed. But when you would have as many as you would have in 10 miles, in 5 miles here, it would be warmer at the poles. So that's just my thinking there. I've never heard, one of the experts who's baffled, okay? I'm not baffled as to what solutions are, but every environmental expert is. And now, these people here that watch all of this data, they're a little bit baffled as to how all this happened. So as I say, that's a repeat of the same information we saw before. On Friday, the Arctic as a whole was 6 degrees warmer than normal from 1979 to 2000, according to Maine's Climate Reanalyzer, based on U.S. National Oceanic Atmospheric Administration weather models. The Antarctic continent was about 8.6 degrees warmer. So that's this guy Muir at the University of Wisconsin, Muir and University of Wisconsin meteorologist Matthew Lazzara said the Antarctic heat wave is a rare occurrence rather than a significant sign of climate change. Well, we'll see about that. What likely happened was a big atmospheric river pumped in warm and moist air from the Pacific southward, which that's true. But, the thing about this is they've been watching, these stations for decades and that big atmospheric river never pumped in warm and moist air from the Pacific before. So, we'll see, but this made big headlines. Yeah, it was really covered in a lot of places, and it just a lot of the same quotes are here. This guy, I've never seen anything like this in the Antarctic. University of Colorado ice scientist Ted Scamboss, who returned recently from an expedition to the continent. Not a good sign when you see that sort of thing happen. That's Matthew Lazzara, and I don't know. Maybe this was just a heat wave, a big atmospheric river. It just happened to pump a bunch of warm air down there. Like, we get Arctic air sometimes pumped down to us, but well, the experts are baffled, so I guess I'm not going to have any definitive information here, except we could rule out climate change if every environmental voice, hadn't prevented the solutions the world needs since November '93. And if one of them would just finally get on the solutions the world needs, because they're still out there just screaming for solutions while every single one of them continues to prevent undeniable solutions that are cannot be denied, are the light years best on the table, and they're the light years best anywhere, because this is what the world needs. There's nothing better. So the environmental experts have caused this problem. If that's the case, if this is really because of global warming, their inaction has caused this problem. And you're not going to hear that truth anywhere else, people. So stay tuned.